All right, guys, what's up? And welcome back to Footy with Edge. I'm Shaylin, and I have an audio issue, I think. There we go. Sorry about that. Anyways, welcome back to Footy with Edge, and I'm Shaylin. What a day it's been for Manchester United. Sorry, I still got another. Okay, I think I'm okay now. But why don't we get started? Michael Carrick's officially back. The club confirmed it this afternoon, and he's the interim head coach until the end of the season. And the first game that he's got is Manchester City, Saturday at Old Trafford. Now, we're going to break it all down tonight, the staff that he's brought with him, what his Middlesbrough tenure actually looks like. And 1 second. Let's see. We've also got a special guest, my boss. Hello.
What's up? What's up, Shaylin?
What's up?
How's everyone doing, man?
Good.
The connection's a little choppy, so apologies if I'm not making a lot of sense. I'm gonna blame the connection.
Okay.
Yeah.
All good.
But yeah, nice to see you guys, man. I'm at the Detroit airport, DTW, about to board my my flight to Paris. And just really excited to appear on my own on our own channel like this. You know what I'm saying? Nice to see Shaylin just bossing it. And what are we talking about today, Shaylin?
We've got some transfer news to go over. Rumors around Bruno and De Zerbi, whatnot, even Rashford. Then we'll also talk about what can we expect from Carrick, and then also the coaching staff that he brought along with him, and then review his record at Borough.
That's awesome. Is this Rashford news the Ben Jacobs thing where maybe United or Barcelona tried to negotiate a lower price? Did I read that correctly?
Yep, exactly.
Cool. All right, I'll let you lead the way. I probably got another 3-4 minutes to chat here, so I won't disrupt your agenda.
No worries. I'll drop you down. Is that fine? Or
yeah, well, whatever you want, but I'll only be here for 3-4 minutes, so up to you.
Okay, then I'll just keep you on. That's fine. All right, cool. So why don't we get right into it, right? So some of the reports today, so the iPaper is saying, and I quote, there's a general fear that Bruno's had enough and will look to leave Manchester United. I mean, I think all of us as fans have also had enough of what's been going on. Now, Bruno's the heartbeat of our team. Carrick himself was on Rio's podcast and actually said this about him. Quote, I like Bruno. He's desperate to do well. His attitude, he plays every game. He never misses training. He puts himself out there, puts himself forward, and he's been the main man. Really the talisman for some time, end quote. Now that's Carrick talking. So if Bruno does want out, is there maybe a potential way where we see Carrick actually being playing a role here in order to keep him, right? But if he leaves, it probably presents us with a massive problem in the midfield and also a massive problem for Michael Carrick. But here's the question that I want you guys to think about, and we can discuss it later. Is Bruno leaving now actually a good thing, right? Especially when we consider the larger context and whether or not we believe, you personally, if we can make the Champions League. If you don't think so, maybe there's an argument to be made. If you do, then we desperately need to keep him. But for a fresh start for Carrick, is this a clean slate, or would losing your captain in this moment be considered a disaster, right? And next is about Ben Jacobs reporting about Marcus Rashford, that Barcelona held a meeting apparently with United this month where they expressed that they do not want to trigger that 30 million euro buy option. Guys, this is crazy to me. In a league where the likes of Anthony Elanga goes for 50 million pounds, they don't want to buy Marcus Rashford for half the price.
Shaylin, we were just talking about a few days ago, like how the 30 million is too low, right?
Yeah.
And for someone like Rashford, and for an England international like Elanga, does he even play for Sweden? You know what I'm saying? Uh, but anyways, I think I'll just react quickly to the first thing you said, which is the Bruno and Carrick situation, right? Because I'm like close to my gate, and my wife's here giving me some eyes, so I'll just yeah. Anyways, so what was I saying? Yeah, I think if the only way I would accept Bruno leaving is for us to go get a world class player to replace him, right? And whatever system we're playing moving forward, I need a clear plan from Mr. Jason Wilcox telling us exactly how we're going to replace Bruno. Because it might happen whether we want it to happen or not. But I won't take mediocre, right? We can't just get Baleba instead of Bruno because we needed Baleba while he was here, right? So I don't want to hear anything but the best because these guys are all about best in class.
No, I totally hear you, Andy. And maybe it's, he doesn't go in January. Maybe he does go in the summer. I know some folks in the chat are thinking that that's the case, but we don't know when he decides to make up his mind, when he wants to leave. But just seeing how much appreciation Bruno had for Amarim, and even in his latest interview, I don't know, maybe this might tip the scales a little bit, not necessarily in our favor. But I do get it. If Bruno leaves, we definitely need to replace someone, or we need to buy in at least 2 players to be able to replace what he does for us. So
yeah, I agree.
All right, but back to Rashford. They're actually trying to negotiate a lower fee for him, right? Or even a second loan with an obligation to buy. But I don't know if that makes sense because his contract situation is there. But anyways, Rashford's probably coming back in the summer unless Barcelona find more money or another lever to pull. But this is kind of another situation where a Glazer era asset is becoming a liability. I think we might have lost Andy, because he's got to board a plane and all. So, oh no, he's still here. Okay, he just had to go off camera. Oh, are you saying bye to us now?
Yeah, probably. I'll leave you guys to it. But Shaylin, appreciate you again, and chat. See you guys when I'm in Paris. Maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go live for a little bit. But see you guys. Bye.
See you. Bye. All right. Cool. So yeah, again, another Glazer era asset is starting to become a liability for us. Now, Jamie Jackson also reported that United are looking to target Ruben Neves to start strengthening our midfield. He's about £20 million in terms of the estimated fee, but he's experienced. He knows the Premier League. He can fit the double pivot. Maybe he's a better option for us than Manu Ugarte in the midfield. I'd personally think so. So, does Neves kind of become maybe a signing to help out Carrick in the short term, or maybe he is part of our long-term plans? Well, let's see. We've got still 2 weeks-ish, 2.5 weeks just left in the window. But I know Nelson will be really happy at the next bit of news, which is that Roberto De Zerbi is still in the frame for the permanent position at United, with many admirers apparently as well. So, and he's interested to return to the Premier League. Likely he wants to keep, likely he wants to be managing a big club or a larger club. So that's a name for us to keep in our back pocket. But anyways, while the transfer market swirls around, Carrick isn't waiting, right? He's already got his team assembled, ready to go. And here are actually give me one sec, switch. Oops. You see, I'm not as slick as Andy is, but hopefully by the end of the, this time that comes back, I will get to be. Here we go. Oh. Did that? I don't know if that did anything. All right. Well, I'll just continue on. Anyways, Carrick's already assembled his backroom staff, and here are the names that we've got for us. We've got Jonathan Woodgate, right? We've also got Jonny Evans coming back. We have Travis Binnion as a part of his staff, and also is Steve Holland. That's the last one. Sorry, the name escaped me for just a second. Why don't we talk a little bit more about it? And it's not like Carrick is kind of, just brought in his mates here, right? These are people that are, a brain trust, I would probably say, that are actually being assembled. And so let's kind of break them down a little bit. We'll start with the first guy, Steve Holland, arguably one of the most controversial appointments, as well, as he was the person working with Gareth Southgate as the former England assistant manager for 8 years. Now, you can say he got to 2 European Championship finals, a World Cup semifinal, but before that, he was at 8 years at Chelsea, working under Ancelotti, Di Matteo, Benitez, Mourinho, Conte, and he also won the Champions League, or was part of the coaching staff that won the Champions League in 2012. But apparently, here's kind of the most important stat that mattered, because in the 2018 World Cup, England scored 9 goals from set pieces, and he was the person that was responsible for actually coaching that England team in set pieces. And that's the most by any team in a single World Cup since 1966, the last time England also won a World Cup. So there were a lot of signs pointing to maybe England winning in 2018, but it just didn't really happen. Now, Henry Winter actually wrote a really detailed tweet today about Holland, right? Or Holland. He said he's not a number one, right? He only lasted 4 months at, 4 months at Yokohama. But Holland's an outstanding number 2, right? He's an intelligent appointment, according to Henry Winter. And so that's the key here, right? Carrick recognizes what Holland's role is. Holland himself recognizes the role. And even though Holland failed in Japan, where he only managed to get 1 win from 11 games, as an assistant, he's probably a much better tactical brain, behind somebody else, in my mind, right? So there's that. We've also got a super chat from Taloco Badger, bringing out the big guns. Maybe I'm just using my American sports brain, but why would anyone, let alone even a competent coach, want to manage Man United, especially if they know there's a high chance the board is going to screw them? You know what? That's a really good question. I'll actually take a second to answer that here, and then maybe we can discuss it afterwards. And so, Taloco, if you want to, hop on later and, give your opinion, feel free. But I think there's 2 reasons for why somebody would still want to continue to manage Manchester United. One, it's still a big name, right? And I think this is something where most people have recognized that it might not necessarily hurt your CV in a sense if you don't do well, because they know the extraneous factors around it. But it's still a big name to have. And a lot of people have, let's say, an ego about them or an ambition about them to want to be the one so that they can say, I was the one who helped turn Manchester United around, or I was the manager who turned Manchester United around after Sir Alex left, right? This is something that is pretty key and crucial. The other thing is that if they know that the board is going to screw them, that is really dependent on the level of control that it is they want, right? I think Carrick, for example, even though he's coming in as an interim, right, probably recognizes that he doesn't want to do anything more than maybe just be the coach, right? Maybe just be the one who's setting up the team and, getting out the tactics and whatnot. He wants to let somebody know what his profile of player is, and then, have the club work towards actually getting it. And is probably willing to relinquish that type of control, right? Managers like that definitely do exist. In fact, Tuchel fell out with Chelsea's hierarchy because he didn't want to be so responsible or so over the transfers. Now, he wanted control in other areas for sure, but it's not necessarily something that, maybe a coach isn't totally inclined. But the other thing too, there's a financial aspect as well to managing Manchester United. It is a big job. It likely pays pretty well, and you are going to be on the eyeball. So even if your coaching career, let's say, is gone, you could leverage that into other opportunities. I mean, United is talked about every day, from here in America to England, and also probably in China as well, right? It's talked globally around the world. So you being able to get an opportunity in media, or maybe even starting your own podcast or something like that after leaving that job, The pathways are endless because of your marketability just skyrocketing the moment you take the reins here. So there's a few reasons here, especially if you think about it. There's that personal reason, like I was the one who brought him back, and then there's probably a little bit more of that financial aspect too, where you'll get paid well if they sack you early. You get paid out pretty well too, and then you still retain a lot of marketability to for either other opportunities moving forward, whether that is in coaching or in media. But anyways, we'll continue. We just talked about Steve Holland. Let's talk about Jonathan Woodgate on Carrick's coaching staff, right? So this is Carrick's guy from Middlesbrough, right? This was his assistant. They worked together for, I think, 2.5 years. And Carrick actually said on Inside Carrington today, the interview that was the first interview of his as interim head coach for United, where he says, I don't want all the same types of people. He challenges me and pushes me, and he has done so for the last 3 years, right? So this is really important for us to recognize, right? Woodgate is not a yes man. He's going to tell Carrick when he's wrong. And you kind of need that in a coaching staff, if I'm honest, right? You want somebody to not necessarily have the same opinion. And, you see here with the panel too, we don't always agree with each other, but we can respect each other, understand, other people's opinions, and are willing to actually change ours as a result. Probably a lesson that our leadership needs to take on board, maybe. Looking at you, Wilcox. Looking at you, Barada. Just because Amram was saying things in the media doesn't necessarily mean he was wrong. But anyways, we'll move on from that and talk about number 3, Jonny Evans. This guy is the institutional plant, I'll say, even though there's so many, right? Carrick is one, and even Travis Binnion. But I'd say he's the guy that's kind of there to really showcase that United DNA in a sense, right? He's won 3 Premier League titles, Champions League, FA Cups at both United and Leicester City. And Ferguson actually called him, or Sir Alex actually called him, arguably the best defender in the country at a point. And get this, he was with Carrick in Barbados over the New Year while they were both vacationing when the call came for Michael Carrick to come and interview. So him, Rooney, and Evans, they were all kind of, on a holiday together, which is probably why Rooney said, hey, I want to join your staff as well. But that being said, Evans also knows the squad, right? He was just playing with us last season, and he likely knows all the dressing room personalities in terms of who he can push, who needs to get protected, and who needs an arm around the shoulder. And this matters especially for the next part, right? With the youth development and that being such a core and integral part with what it is that, our owners and our leadership are trying to take us forward on. And that brings me to the last guy, Travis Binnion, apparently the youth whisperer, some might say. He won the FA Youth Cup in 2022 in front of a crowd of 67,000 people. This is the same game that Alejandro Garnacho scored a brace in the final, right? And Binnion has, now in my research, you'll be surprised, Binnion has developed the names of Harry Maguire, Kyle Walker, and Aaron Ramsdale when he was at other clubs, right? And Carrick clearly identifies with that. In today's interview, he said the club's about young players, producing young players and having a line with the academy and the pathway, right? Binnion knows Mainu, he knows Lacey, he knows the Fletcher twins, he knows every single kid that's coming through. And that is invaluable, especially when that's the direction that we're looking to go in. Right. And so these appointments really tell us that, right, Carrick is, I'll say, a bit serious, right? Albeit maybe biased on maybe the types of people that he's brought in, right? A full English staff and, folks that he probably has had, contact with before, but ones that have identified with the club as well. But let's be real, he's not coming in, as a proven winner either. And I think that's also important. So he just didn't bring his best friends from the golf course, right? But he's also got some serious people there. But why don't we take a look at the next thing, which is what did he do at Middlesbrough? So let's do this. Let's do this properly, okay? Because the narrative that you're going to hear from some people about his time there is going to be that Carrick was brilliant, right? And the promotion was just unlucky and he deserves a chance like this. But then other people are also going to tell you he didn't have a plan B. he couldn't get him promoted, and then he ended up getting sacked. And the truth is somewhere in between, as we've constantly found ourselves, right? That's why you're here, right? Because you feel like we're giving you at least a balanced opinion and a level take, and we present the facts, and you can make a decision. It's totally fine. So let's kind of look at what has happened. So he takes over in October of 22 to a team that's sitting in 21st place, right? They're just a point above the relegation zone, right? Their season is at basically almost disaster, right? But what happens next? They win 40 points from Carrick's first 17 games in charge. How many games are left in United season? 17. Right? Maybe we get 40 points. I don't know. That's just me being optimistic. But he takes them from 21st to 4th. And Chuba Akpom, who had only scored 6 goals in 2 seasons, suddenly goes on a hot streak and scores 28. Right? That is amazing. Carrick ended up winning, I think Championship Manager of the Month in 2023. But yeah, Akpom had even said that he's the manager that I've been dreaming of my whole career. The football was beautiful. They even called it, as Lanre wants to correct me in the chat, with Middlesbrough. They even called it Middlesalona, right? That was getting floated around during Carrick's time there, because they scored 66 goals in their first 30 games, and some fans actually said this was the best football that they had seen at the Riverside. So what went wrong? Right? They lost the playoff semifinals against Coventry, which was gutting, but it was clear that there was a turnaround, and they went into the following season extremely optimistic. But that's where it gets complicated. Year 1, 4th place, 75 points. Year 2, 8th place, 69 points. And year 3, 10th place, 64 points. That's regression. That's clear, measurable regression. Now, The Athletic today, had a really good piece by Michael Walker. If you haven't a subscription, I'd encourage you to read it. They had a quote in it, right, where they said, had Carrick won promotion, he might have been considered for more than an interim position at Old Trafford. And I think that's true. If Borough had gone up, we'd be talking about him as a more serious manager. Probably likely on par with one of his former colleagues, Kieran McKenna. But they didn't. He got sacked probably, I think, a year and a half after signing a 3-year contract extension. And here's the criticism that kind of has followed him from his time at Borough, that there was no plan B. I think one of the examples that, I can recall is the League Cup semifinal against Chelsea. Right, the first leg, Borough actually win 1-0 at home, and that was an incredible night for them. Hayden Hackney scores a goal, and the dream is alive for them, right? That's the magic of the cup. But the second leg was at Stamford Bridge, and they go in at halftime 4-0 down. They're immediately just getting pummeled, right? And it finishes 6-1. And Alan Shearer actually just, on, I think, the post-match just calls that performance by Carrick and by Borough naive. Right? Because when opponents are sitting deep, Borough doesn't have a way to be able to break them down. I think what they want to do is just spam crosses into their striker. And when opponents are pressed high, Borough actually didn't have a good strategy to be able to cope with that situation. So the system is beautiful only when it works, but when it didn't, he didn't necessarily have answers about it or a way to be able to, adjust his tactics. So there's still some room. There's opportunity for Carrick to actually grow here. But Carrick himself, when he was asked about this, had said, quote, "I'm not going to change the style of play because it's what I know, I believe." Sound like somebody that we know? I don't know, guys. He's starting to feel a lot more like Amarim, but just, the United mold, I guess. I'm not sure. But anyways, I'm not saying that it's a bad thing. I just think, it's interesting, some of the similarities that he has with our previous manager. But let's compare that to what The Athletic actually reported about why he got sacked in the end of season review, Carrick said that he just wanted to hone his style and not necessarily reconfigure it, right? So the board actually wanted more flexibility and he couldn't give it. So he was kind of just gone at that point, right? Which is part of why we're seeing Ruben Amorim leave. And that stubbornness, I really wonder, is that actually going to be a problem here at United, or will he actually concede on some of those points? But the counterpoint to all of this, though, in my mind, is that he has clearly shown player development, and that's something that we need, right? Chuba Akpom was an academy reject, and then he scored 28 goals, makes him, gets him a move to Ajax, right? Morgan Rogers, who they bought for 1 million, ended up getting sold to Aston Villa, and now he is an England international, right? And he's a PFA Young Player nominee. And Emmanuel Latte-Lath, right? They buy him for 2 million, and they end up selling him for 22.5 million, right? Which is a club record, right? And he's also apparently the most expensive MLS signing ever, because that's who they ended up selling him to, and into that league. So he is showcasing that we have we do have a lot of player growth and player development that are here. But that's Carrick's CV, right? It's impressive. It's just not complete, though. And I think he won the dressing room when he was there at Borough, and the football was brilliant at times, but he just couldn't get them promoted. And I think there are some legitimate questions that we need to have about whether or not he can adapt if his plan A doesn't necessarily work out. And maybe we might see that the likes of Steve Holland, playing an integral role in that, or even Jonathan Woodgate, after taking some time away, they do, it's not like they just go on holiday, right? They watch other teams, they analyze, they take more courses, and they try to grow, right? These are what managers at an elite level are looking to do. But anyways, I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about United's new interim boss? What do you think about maybe even Bruno leaving, right? Like, where does that kind of leave us? And I've got two legends of our community in Ray and Roberto. Sorry, I don't know why I said Roberto, but what's up, guys? How first off, how are you guys doing?
Doing good, man. Thanks. How are you?
Good. Where do you guys want to maybe start off first? Do you want to talk about the Bruno stuff, or do we just want to talk about Carrick and maybe some of the concerns we have?
I'll talk about Bruno. Everyone knows, I've made my points clear. I think Bruno is very essential to the team. He has been since he came here. He's been the best player we've had since he's transferred in. If he asks for a transfer, I hope they give it to him, just to respect his wishes, because he's been so good to the club. But if he does go, I don't know how we even get top 10, top of the table at all, because you'd have to find somebody who could do the things that he can do with the goals and the assists that he's provided to the club. Maybe there might be some, as I know other people have argued, that if he goes away, they were not so reliant on him. But I've always been of the thing, for any sport, you should be reliant on your best players, and he's probably our best player. So if he goes, I'd be very sad about it. I hope that he goes to a club that's competing for a Champions League, just because I want to see him do well before he gets too old and go to Saudi Arabia for the money. But I hope if that's the case, I hope we keep him. I won't be sad if he goes, because I know it'd be something that he would the only way we'd let him go is if he asks for it in the January window, and then they'll probably look to move him in the summer.
Okay, cool. Roberto, your thoughts on Bruno?
I agree. I think what we lose on top of goals and assists, we lose a lot of intangibles if Bruno were to leave. The leadership, he is someone that is one of the few players we have that still instills and expects certain standards from our players. And he's a good role model. And I think losing someone with all of that is a huge loss. I don't know how you replace that. I mean, at the end of the day, we would have to move on, right? Like, it's just what it is, but we'd be losing a lot. And I agree with Ray. I think if Bruno goes, I hope it's not to Saudi. I hope it's, to a big club where he can actually challenge for titles, because I think his performances throughout his time at United have deserved more than what he's gotten. So, yeah, I hope it doesn't happen. But I mean, at the same time, he's going to probably leave at the end of the year. At the end of the season, right? So, maybe if he leaves now, maybe we get some more money, but it's not something I want.
Yeah. I think it's a big, I think you're right. I think it's a big refresh for us as a club, especially if he leaves at the end of the season. I think maybe if he wants to go, that's my preferred time for him to leave, because it'll give us a chance to be able to kind of work through. I hope he's communicated that to at least to our CEO or Jason Wilcox, if anything. I don't know if Wilcox is sticking around, but so that way they can at least start looking for a replacement for the guy. But you're right. There's certain intangibles in the team that we just won't have. And I think that is something where I'm a bit less worried if we can replace some of those intangibles either in a new acquisition, or if players inside of this team kind of step up, right? I think that doggedness from Cunha really is, if we're keeping him, right, somebody that we can get behind as well. But I also think maybe somebody would be a little bit more measured for us would be, look at this guy. He's ready to fall asleep on the plane, man.
Workaholic.
I know. It's like he's leaving I get it. You're leaving your baby to somebody else. It's okay. I understand.
No, I'm not here to interrupt, bro. You can just keep going. I'm just listening. I'm such a junkie. I just realized, for all the people that keep joining and watching every day, I'm the biggest junkie there is, because I can't stay away.
Can you say in your heart, I'm a coach and I want to coach? I think that's
you want me to say that? Oh, come on. I'm more Sir Jim. At least make me a billionaire if we're gonna hate on me.
Yeah. Sir Jim would be in a PJ though.
Yeah, Ray, where's your Bugatti?
Oh man, love that. A bit of banter between all of us. Yeah. No, but as I was saying, right, I think maybe if we find our players, existing ones, to step up a little bit in terms of that intangible department, then great. I just think we're really are going to have a hard time is who picks up on the chance creation, right? Especially since Bruno has led the league in so many years, and probably has only maybe ever been behind Kevin De Bruyne in that department. But City are a much better organization than we are, and they don't seem to be struggling that much. But yeah, so those are just my thoughts.
You figure if he goes, it's because they want to maybe possibly do the rebuild in the summer?
I think if he goes, it's of his own accord.
Right. No, but in the summer, though, I think he's probably gone regardless. If he wants to leave now, like if he's leaving January, it'd have to be on his request. I don't think they want to move him now, because I don't know if maybe Glinios is that daft on it, but maybe they realize they kind of have to have the captain and stability there, unless he asks for it. Because I think it would be really terrible press, even how bad the press has been for them now, if they say, "Oh, we're moving on from Bruno in January," rather than his request. I don't know how that would go over well.
Guys, how many positions do you think Bruno costs us? Can you hear me, by the way? I'm trying not to be too loud.
Yeah.
How many positions do you think Bruno costs us, regardless of where you think we'll finish? Like, let's say he's here and you think we'll finish sixth. He's not here. Where do you think he'll finish?
Oh, man.
That's a good question. The thing is, the league right now is so close that literally it could be 6 or 7 positions, just because it's like, maybe we talk points wise, maybe that's 6 to 8 points, or maybe that's,
with the current team we have now, I think it's about 10 points.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, especially if he's playing higher in the 10, so he has more offensive contribution and he's not so reliant defensively. It's probably around 10 points between now and the end of the season.
Can I just make a scary point, which is, I think you guys are both right. It's 10 points, and it could be 6 or 7 positions. But it also means Šeško doesn't get to the number of goals that he would with Bruno. It also means Cunha and Bruno score less. It also means the rest of the team is worse. So I don't even like, my estimation of Ineos is already very low, and I think the biggest Ineos in dude who's sitting above me right here is also Ineos out now. So like, how much worse can it get if they actually sell Bruno? Because I feel like it would be the dumbest thing they could ever do. Because you're spending what, $7.5 million on his wages till the end of the season, because it's the second half of the season or whatever. Just save that and not have $100 million player in your team that could impact you with 10 points, the value of your other assets, and also not getting Champions League. It just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways,
Not to mention,
think
it
you guys have
sets
some
up
good
Carrick.
points.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also sets up Carrick for failure if we were to decide to move on. Like if Bruno wants to move on in January, like Ray said, there's not much we can do about that. But if it's on our accord, that is not great for Carrick, because it just takes another tool out of his arsenal that he could, potentially stabilize the ship with. So
Mhm.
It was brought up interestingly, I think, on the Discord 2 days ago. I think it was Nelson who said it. It's like, no one. He made me think about Bruno, because really, there hasn't been much reporting or confirmed reports that other big clubs in Europe were clamoring or asking about Bruno. That could be for a number of reasons, obviously, but usually even if there's a hint of something, Fabrizio Romano would say something about it, which got me into this deep thing about because really the only thing everyone ever talks about Bruno's transfer is the $100 million, and that's why to Saudi, right? But he didn't want to go to Saudi, so we were never going to get the $100 million. But in his time that he's been with us, I don't think there's been any push for somebody like asking about him to join their team in Europe or anything like that. So do we overvalue him? Is he valued correctly? Or, for like a basketball NBA analogy for me, got me thinking, is Bruno one of those players that does really good statistically on bad teams because that's how he is, but if he goes to a good team, would he not be good? I think he'd be good on any team just by watching him play in Portugal. He's been really big for them as well. But it's an interesting insight that Nelson put out. I think it was Nelson. I'd have to look back on the Discord from yesterday. But it was
Right.
like, I don't think
If we want
anybody.
to stay on the basketball analogies, I think he's like Steph Curry to Golden State, except he hasn't had the 16-17 season. He hasn't had the Klay Thompson. He hasn't had the other players around him, right? It's kind of like Steph Curry to Golden State now, or in the last few years, where they've not necessarily been very good, but he's still been a good player, right? So, yeah, that's my 2 cents on Bruno.
So he's Steph Curry with Draymond Green's arm waving.
Pretty much, he's not punching any teammates though. So,
but I really like Bruno since he's got here. I hope he doesn't leave, and I think that there's a point if the board really wants to think that they can get to top 5, so they can get a Champions League, or they can try to get to even Europa League spots. You need Bruno, because you don't want to thrust Kobe Mainu in that role or Cunha in that role, because you'd rather probably have Cunha be the scorer rather than the assist. Would Ahmad fit there? Probably not. I don't think he has the instincts that Bruno has, and it would be waste to not use Ahmad's speed anyway for those types of runs that Bruno likes to look for. So, God, I hope he doesn't go, but if he asks for it, I hope he goes if he asks.
Yeah, back to your point about Ahmad, I think he did play in the 10 when he was out on loan. I want to say he did quite a few games. He was okay, but it's different. It's a different player. Like it's not the creativity you would get from Bruno. To your point, it's more of like the inside runs past the striker type of deal, or dribbling out wide a bit. So it's not the same at all.
But maybe this means that Kobe Mainu can probably actually be in that forward 10 role if Bruno does go, and that's that's been the position that even Carrick thinks that he plays best in, and Amram also thought so too, because he said that he's in direct competition with Bruno and this, at least in this team and in this situation. So who knows? We might have a replacement just already there inside of our academy, but maybe of a different, I'll say, mold. But what do you think? Like, you know, we mentioned Ahmad, we mentioned Cunha, I mentioned Kabi as like, you know, the players that can take up maybe that position. But if you had to go get somebody tomorrow, not tomorrow, sorry, if you had to go get somebody in the summer to probably help you replace Bruno in the aggregate in the way that they're doing, who's that player for you?
I think I would probably go for a different profile than Bruno. Just because I think you want to, we talked about the word platform yesterday, and I know, Andy, you don't like it, but just to give Cunha the best maybe shot at impressing or like performing at the best level he can, maybe you stick him in the 10 and you look for a more creative dictator player deeper. I don't really know. I think it kind of depends on what the club sees us going on in the future. If they are looking to play a 4-2-3-1 and they want a creative 10,
could I maybe interest you in a Cole Palmer? Right.
So I've seen that
Simmons
name.
over Cole Palmer. Team Nelson.
Really?
Nelson,
No,
if because Nelson was the one who said Cole Palmer's being touted to leave. So
yeah,
I don't know. Is Nelson switching sides now? But okay.
I'd take Cole Palmer in a heartbeat. I think he's a United fan already. He doesn't try to hide it at all. I feel like in most interviews he has something to say.
Injuries though. Injuries are the only thing. Yeah.
Yeah. But he is that kind of like, you know, when we signed Cunha, we talked about like Mavericks. I think he can kind of fit into that mold and he would fit perfectly into the team. But injuries are a worry.
And I'm always worried about players or front office people that Man City are very willingly giving up, and they did not really fight Cole Palmer leaving or asking to leave.
We did get burned by that with Sancho.
I think regardless of aggregate or direct replacement for Bruno, what I want to see is somebody like Bruno G, that profile, right, to be brought in, because I think if you look at the Newcastle team, they could play in a 4-2-3-1, they can play in a 4-3-3, they could play in a 4-3-3 with one holding, right? They can play in a bunch of different formations, and the heart of that team is Bruno G. And Bruno G is a very different profile from Bruno Fernandes, right? So I think we need to move away from the number 10s because most teams don't play with the number 10s. I even think Cunha might be a concern moving forward if we're going to a 4-3-3 type system, because can he work in an 8? Probably can, but we need 2 other players that can work with him. So yeah, just stay away from the Juan Mata, Bruno Fernandes type of players, and that's the profile I'd be looking for.
But then again, all of this is really contingent on how Michael Carrick does, right? Because all these people that we want to replace, we want somebody who's world class or pretty close to world class, and that's not going to happen unless we're Champions League or Europa League at the minimum. So I guess the question that also goes back to Bruno is, what are the expectations of the board with Michael Carrick? What are the expectations that we have? I mean, my short-term expectations, I don't think they're the favorite in the next 2 games. So the question becomes, are we going to get blanked, or is it going to be a blowout, or is he going to show some fight? What is like the best case scenario for the next 2 games? A point? Yeah. Is everyone expecting about a point?
Yeah, I'm hoping for a point. Best case, right?
Best case is 6 points, guys.
I was gonna say,
I'll be honest. Like if we get 2 W's, and I would love that.
So my
expectation,
my expectation is just that we don't get battered. You know, we don't look lost on the pitch. I think even with 0 points, I'm okay with that, to be honest, because I want to see Carrick off to a good start, and I want to see him do well. Because why would we want him to not do well, right? And that being said, give me your guys' points prediction or score prediction for the City game, because I gotta go.
City, I think we lose 3-0 again.
Roberto?
Yeah, I think 3-1. I think the team usually shows up.
United or City, bro? You gotta tell us the team.
Oh, City's winning 3-1. Okay. We're not beating them.
1-1.
Mr. Shaylin?
1-1. I think we'll the boys are gonna come out strong.
It's part of the Ineos strategy, guys. You gotta get in early. Setting expectations. I like it. All right. For me, honestly, I think we'll win it 2-1.
Oh wow.
I know it's a great shot. I'm actually I just feel like that something crazy is gonna happen. Not
Is he breaking up for you guys as well?
Yeah, he's breaking
Yeah,
up for me. The internet
Yeah.
heard his prediction and thought, nope, that's enough.
They
Yeah,
canceled
nope.
him.
All right. Well, hopefully that's a good sign that he's taking off.
So, anyways, see you guys on the flip side.
Bye, Andy.
Bye, Andy.
Bye, Andy. I think Solomon 1315 in the chat. You're wondering where Andy is. Andy was on a plane. He's actually going to India for the next like 20 odd days or so. So yeah, he'll be there. In the meantime, I'll be here and I'll be taking over for the streams for a little bit until he comes back. Got a homie to bring on to Loco Badger. First off, thank you, man, for the super chat. Really appreciate that as well. It's the first time that I think I've seen you on stream, or at least I've interacted with you on stream. Could you tell me a bit about where you're from and how you came to support United?
I guess you weren't there. I recently got into football, and I was going to be a Liverpool fan because of Mohamed Salah. And then they won the league, and I was just like, I don't want to feel like a bandwagon. And well, Man United was there, and they played the back three. So
Okay. No. I think I remember this now. You're the guy that just loved Amarim's system because it was interesting and unique in that sense and different from what you had seen. Am I not mistaken? Or
it wasn't Amarim's system specifically. It was just like back threes in general because everyone runs like a 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1. Invert the right back to become an extra midfielder. Wing backs are really just fullbacks are really just wing backs now. Blah blah blah. All this other things.
yeah. Okay. Cool. Why don't we shift our conversation a little bit too? Because you dropped that super chat in about whether or not like who would even come in to manage United. So Tilico, why don't you give us your thoughts on that question?
I mean, okay, so obviously I won't know a lot of like actual coaching candidates, but it's just that I'm also I'm mostly an NFL fan, Raiders. So, and we've had since 2020 4 head coaches because we fired John Gruden because of his email scandal. Then we had a year and a half of Josh McDaniels where he tried to turn it into Patriots West. Then we had Antonio Pierce, who was just out of his depth. And then recently we had Pete Carroll on his retirement tour, basically. And they all had the same problem of effectively not having a quarterback, which is the most important part of a team, but also an owner that's willing to let you just go through failure first before you can go through success. And the problem is that at least Mark Davis tries, but it feels like the United board doesn't even try to fix what they never look at themselves. It's always, oh, like even recently, like they said, oh, like they wanted Amram to switch to back four when they knew coming in that he was a strictly back three coach, and they've been having this discussion since August. Not even a full year he's in the job, and you already want him to change the system. So, and you never even gave him the proper players to get this system to what he wanted it to be. Maybe we do. Maybe if we did, maybe he would have not still been out of his depth. But when there's no support from the higher ups, there's no like working when you're not working together, like what's the point of even taking the job?
Right. Okay. So I think I understand what you're saying a little bit. You know what I'd like to liken this to is that you have your owner inside of NFL. You also have a GM, right? That is kind of responsible
Yeah.
for helping you and support you and whatnot. And so you're saying that if the head coach has a fractious relationship with both the GM and the owner, that then they're not all going to get along, or those three parties aren't necessarily going to get along. What's the point of actually wanting to take the job? I think this is where it's a bit interesting, right? I think the owner and the GM in our case, so with the CEO, director of football, and Sir Jim, they're all aligned with what it is that they want to do. They are just looking for a manager in the sense of like, hey, this is the direction that we want to go in. And maybe they didn't find that with Amram, and that could have just been for some personal reasons, right? It might not necessarily have had anything to do with his playing belief or ideology. And I keep hearing other reports too that he was willing to change his initial formation at the outlay, or alter his system a little bit in order to play in more of the style or the vision that the club had for themselves as well. So that's something like important for us to consider, is that we don't know the next person that's coming in, what are they going to want to concede, right? Like a lot of why Carrick was picked was not only because he was a bit favored by the staff as seeing this as a progressive appointment and not like a regressive one like Ollie. And I think they had 3 primary candidates: Rude, Ollie, and Carrick. But they really limited themselves to just looking at who from our ex-players or people who have coached here are we going to look to target, because they wanted to have somebody that they didn't necessarily need to question or worry about the fact that they're going to play in a specific aggressive style, or the one that's going to include wingers inside of the team, one that's going to really emphasize youth development. And that's ultimately probably why they settled on Carrick. Doesn't mean that an outside candidate won't share the same principles. It's not uncommon for coaches to have those sets of principles, the ones that we're at least looking to chart out. So yeah. But the other thing is I'll liken it to another piece of the NFL too, is the Dallas Cowboys have been considered America's team, but largely unsuccessful, right? And they have not gotten a Super Bowl over, at least in Jerry Jones's ownership or whatever. United is a bit like that,
They
right? It's
have,
still a
but-
big team, but right? Or no, they have under Jerry Jones, but it's been a while since their last one.
95. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been like 30 years, right? And so United is kind of like that, right? Where it's like our last like great season has been a while ago, but it's not like we're not a big team. It's not like a team that players don't necessarily not want to play at either. So that's where it's at. Yeah.
Can I
Yeah.
add to the whole question about who do we think coming in? I wonder if Glenios is going to try to implement that clause that they had for Xabi Alonso under Real Madrid. I think it was like if he didn't make it to a certain part of the contract, he wouldn't get paid for the rest of it. And part of me is like they're probably going to try to put that in, and I wonder whoever's coming in is going to probably have to agree to something like that. And I don't know if that's something you'd want to do, just given the track record of being backed and what happened with Ten Hag and now with Amber.
Even if I had even a decent reputation, I wouldn't put that in my contract. Like if I was a first time head coach, maybe, but if I had any semblance of a reputation, I'm just gonna walk away.
That's what I'm saying. I'm wondering if that becomes like a point of contention when they are looking for a new manager / head coach to come in.
Totally get it. We've got King here. King, introduce yourself. I think you've been on the stream before, but just refresh at least my memory, because I haven't had a chance to talk to you in the past.
Yeah, this is my first time. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you all right. Why don't you, if it's your first time, why don't you tell us where you're from, how you supported?
I am from the US. originally from Ethiopia, from Africa, East Africa, and this is my first time. I have been following this channel for the past year and a half or so. Like I'm a big fan of Andy and his contents, and I have been United fan since 2008, like for I would say almost 20 years. Yeah, through and through. And this is my
Wow.
first time joining you guys, and I like your contents, every opinions that came from everybody here on the like the community stuff like that. Like I like it. Like I want to be like the family, like the community, like in
Mhm.
between, and like I want to give
Yeah.
my opinions, but like I couldn't get time either.
Well,
Yeah.
no worries. You're here now. Let me just I'll ask you a question. Let me just answer some chats that are there.
Okay.
Outer Signal, yes, hosting the stream today and for the next couple of days. For those of you guys, I think Pattern earlier even said that I'm a bit early. I know Andy usually streams at like 10, just 9 or 10 Eastern. 9 Eastern works a bit better for my own schedule. So if you're not a part of the Discord, please join the Discord. If you haven't also liked the stream, do so as well. And subscribe if you've been at least enjoying the content. But King, I love Ethiopia for the coffee. I
Oh
think it's like
yeah,
my favorite region for to get beans. I'm a bit of a
yeah,
coffee nerd, like
yeah.
as well.
We've
Yeah,
got the best coffee.
I think so too.
Yeah, the origin of the coffee is from Ethiopia. Like if you guys
Yeah,
have any idea about it, like the origin of coffee is from Ethiopia, and we've got
yeah.
great runners there. Like we've got the only country that was not colonized
Mhm.
in Africa was Ethiopia. We've got like such a good history.
Wow, I love
Yeah,
that. Okay,
yeah.
so let's bring it back to United just a little bit. I got a question for you, King. What do you think? Like, are you concerned about Carrick's track record in the past, or are
Yes,
you going to overlook that a little bit?
I'm absolutely concerned. Like, my concern has started not now, like after the Ferguson regime. Like everything we see was like we saw was it was not like we had hope previously, like from the start, from the Moise era up to the Amorim era. Like every time, like we were hoping that the good times were gonna come every time we change managers. In my opinion, the only managers that were not able to be on United standard were, this is my opinion, Ole and Moise. They were the managers. Except them, like I don't think the United problem is a managerial problem. So the structure, like the owners, like the way how we were led from the like upper structure was not right, and every manager, like they set him to fail every time. Like they don't back him well. Starting from like I said, like Moise was not, like he was incompetent, like he was not good enough. But after him, like Louis Van Gaal came and like with his own uh, uh, style of play and like philosophy, and like we didn't back him enough. And then after that, like we got Mourinho, which is different from Louis Van Gaal. After Louis Van Gaal, who was that? Was it Mourinho? Yeah. Hold on. Yeah, Louis Van Gaal, Mourinho, and then Ole came in, and there were a honeymoon period before he got the like the permanent job.
Yep.
Everything changed, like the Paris Saint Germain game, like the Champions League game, and after that, we hired Ragnick for caretaker manager, like bringing him like as a caretaker for 6 months, and like he was going to be like a sporting director or stuff like that. But like everything is shambles in this football club. Like I said, I have been a fan since 2008. Like United is one part of my life. I would say, like literally, like it's one part of my life, United. So I always think about United. Like I always I'm
Yeah.
concerned about United. But like the thing is, I was having a hope on Amorim because everything was like online, like in line, like the management, the board, Ineos, like we were having positive things because of the transfers, the players, and the upper managers, like the board or like the sporting structure. Like there was no it was more like football late. It was not like business from the past, like Ed Woodward, stuff like that. And I was having hope. I thought they were aligned together, like the board, the so-called Jason Wilcox, stuff like that. And I was ready to suffer because of like for the base of the future, just like Arsenal did, just like Jurgen Klopp did. But the moment when they sack Ruben Amorim, I know Amorim has his own like downgrades, his own uh, what do you call side bad things. But like I was more focused on the good things he was about to give us. But unfortunately, he got the sack. He was not able to do what he wanted to do. He hasn't got the chance. He was not backed properly. I might be like one of the few people that think Man United have started the season without like incompetent midfielders. The Bruno Fernandes and the Bruno Fernandes and the Casemiro, or even like our midfield depth was not like compliment. Like we could not like compliment these players like to get the best out of the team. And I feel like that's the worst midfield that we have. And like I feel they set him to fail, and like he couldn't do
Okay.
anything better than this. And now Carrick has been appointed. Like he's a club legend. He is a like a great man. Like he has done great things at Middlesbrough. We have seen like the attacking players that he has improved, the kind of Akpom stuff like that. Like I was watching some videos about him. Like he plays like good football, like entertaining football. But at the end of the day, I mean, United is United. I mean, like we
Mm.
have hired the next manager to be sacked. I know it's like for interim job, but still, it doesn't matter. Like I don't have any hope. Like I'm gonna
You
watch.
know,
I'm gonna back.
let's turn that around. Let's turn that around a little bit, okay? Because we can't all be doom and gloom, especially because you just said, "Hey, United is such a big part of of your time and obviously the ones that we consume." And I know a lot of people are watching too. Now I get that, like, hey, we probably haven't necessarily agreed with the decisions that the ownership has made, and I'm not going to try to defend anything like that, right?
Mhm.
But here's the thing, right? The players that are on the pitch are and the manager that's there are the ones that are going to impact your, I'll say, outlook the most, right? Because we're going to live and die by the results that are going to be on there. So
Exactly.
all we can realistically do is just back those players, right? And we can only back the manager. Now, we might have our own opinion of, hey, I don't think Carrick might be the right guy, or maybe I have some question marks around him or something like that. That's totally fine, but give him an opportunity to prove you wrong, right? We've got 17 games to see something like that. This is a totally non-committal relationship for us, right? And that's something I think all of us as fans, just to change the narrative around the club, also to change some of the energy that we've got as well, is that that's something that we need to be looking forward to, right? We just can't always be doom and gloom
Yeah.
or anything like that. And you know, I know you took the time to express a lot of like, you know, that type of stuff out, but you
Yeah.
know, sometimes we just need to step away from watching the club or just supporting the club for a little bit, and then just be like, okay, hey, like I can come back to it. But the other part too is that, look, if we go out there and let's say we nick a point off of City, or we, you know, somehow we get all three or something like that, right? It's still possible. It's not like it's totally unrealistic, and it's not like it's not there, right? Like we could still do it. We've seen this team, you know, surprise us in many ways, and I think that's important in that sense, right? And so I just want, like, you know, to throw a little bit of the positivity that's out there, is that all of the frustrations you might have with the ownership, all of the frustrations that you might have with the people above the manager, right, and the director of football and the CEO, let that be to one side, because the real work that they end up doing is now just going to be in the summer, right? At least like when the transfer window opens up, and that's where they need to showcase their true depth, not only with the players that we bring in, but also with, you know, that next permanent manager appointment. But until then, all we can be is focused on these next 17 games.
Yeah.
All we can do is just back, you know, the players that are there and support them, and not necessarily add to a little bit of that negativity that's surrounding them and that noise that's around there, that doesn't help. Now, I don't want somebody in the chat to go like, wait, hey, this is toxic positivity. It's not. It's just I'm asking you to take a pragmatic approach on what is in your locus of control, right? Which is all I can do is support the team, and just focus on what is going to immediately alter your mood in terms of being able to see some positive performances, right? That's all we can do. But that being said, Nelson, my brother, I know you're really excited for Carrick. Give me more than just, you know, some vibes. Give me the tactical reason why I should get excited as well.
Boys. I don't understand what's going on here. First of all, Salam King. I'm Kenyan. So
Oh, nice. Nice to meet you, Nelson.
nice to meet you, man.
Yeah, you're from Kenya?
Yeah, I'm from Kenya.
Oh, nice.
So I'm
from
well
Nairobi?
familiar with Ethiopian food. It's my favorite
I
food.
got you. Yeah. Like
So-
it's very close. Like
Yeah,
from
one neighbors,
Moyale.
literally.
Yep. I got you.
I was literally on my way to bed. I was listening to you while, and I'm here listening to gloom. All right, guys, Carrick is here. Okay, please don't be shocked if we play well. I'm not joking when I say this. Don't be shocked. Not the Man City game. I just saw Man City play Newcastle today. We're probably losing. Like Semenyo's playing extremely well. Should have scored. They literally stole a goal off of him. I don't think we'll be ready for that game. I think the Arsenal game is probably the game we'll see some semblance of what Carrick is trying to implement. The news you're hearing is great. De Zerbi, Luis Enrique is apparently top of their list. Those are great names.
They are.
This is someone who hates
Exciting
Ineos, by
names.
the way. Yeah, no, those are exciting names, by the way. I hate Ineos, but those are great coaches. Those are the coaches that we need, period. Because Luis Enrique is literally, I'm not kidding when I say this, I think he is better than Pep. I loved his Barcelona more than I like Pep's.
I feel
More
like his
direct.
Barcelona played more like what we would want to see or expect out of United.
Exactly.
It's
More
direct,
expensive.
a lot more vertical.
Yeah, and multiple ways. Like it's not just one. Like if you watch Pep's team, you kind of know what's going to happen. Not boring. It's like a slow death. You see it coming, but I like Luis Enrique's. It's a little bit more exciting. The only problem is the same issues we're going to have, which is clearly this Ineos doesn't want to back anyone. They're slowly moving. Let's be honest. Ruben Neves, whether Amram was here or not, should have come in. He's 20 million. It's pocket change. It's literally what they spent firing everyone. It's what they spent getting Amram and firing Amram. It's not really. It's super easy to get.
It's less actually, Nelson. It's not.
Oh, sorry, it's
10 million.
less.
It's
Apologies.
10 million less. Yeah.
So they have the money. They can structure that deal. Neves is supposed to be out of contract, I think, by the summer, I think. So you can easily say, hey, 10 million and then structure it with multiple, clauses. I'm actually more excited to see what happens in the next few. Nix hasn't said anything. I'm in bed. Apologies, Nix. But I'm actually being very, very positive here, boys. I want to see. You're going to see us against Arsenal, how I'm going to be. That's going to be the first version of like fully formed Nelson. So let's go.
Nix, is this your first time on stream, my friend?
Yeah, will be my
Yeah.
first
Why
time.
don't you tell us where you're from and how you started supporting United, and then you can answer Nelson's question. I'm not sure if Nelson had a question, but then you can give your thoughts.
Hi. Yeah. Hi, everyone. I'm from New Zealand, and I know about Manchester United since I was a kid back in Vietnam. The only team was on TV actually, just Manchester United. So the only team I know was us. So I recently, I think that's the start of Ten Hag, got into like a lot more, like follow the team more when during his tenure with the team, and unfortunately didn't experience the glory day when I was heard my dad talk about it. But yeah, to kind of follow on to Nelson's point is, yeah, I am excited to see what Carrick do with the team, because right now I don't think tactics or anything gonna help us in any shape or form. We try back four, back three, experienced coaches, upcoming coaches or manager, but nothing really stand out. Nothing help the team. But it's more like I just feel like they don't have any confidence to go into game and kind of play. I play a bit of sport myself, so I kind of understand that when your confidence is low, everything gonna gone wrong. Even if you do the right thing, do the right tactics, like everything gone wrong. So I hope Carrick come in and kind of give them the boost, like the morale boost that they need. And for the result for next two game, I watch Man City today. Unfortunately, I don't think we can come out with a win. I'm hopeful for a draw, but for Arsenal, I actually think we can win there. And that is my prediction.
That's awesome. I love that. Pattern has a really astute comment too. They're so worried about looking like fools overspending that they're looking like fools underspending, which is a bit ironic. I think that's pretty true as well. But guys, I have a thought for you. Actually, Rafa asked a question. Nelson, is Steve Holland a prop for Southgate? I don't think so. I heard Goldbridge take that angle, but yeah, I don't agree.
Southgate? Hell no.
Yeah.
Listen, if Southgate decides to even put his name on the ring, I'll be in England. All right, like I'll have to have a talk with Sir Jim personally, because there's no way you decide Southgate. Like, guys, that would really showcase that this is the end. All right, let's start supporting Leeds. I want you to support immediate rivals. I don't want to see, brother. Southgate is so bad. He got Middlesbrough relegated.
And Carrick almost got them promoted. So
literally almost did the op. Like, boy, it's Southgate is one of the worst managers who did well for England, but England also had one of the best teams in the World Cup. So this idea that he'll come here and actually do well, no. Let's also be clear. I think Bruno is upset. Let's also be clear. We did want to sell him. Amarim was the one who kept him, who convinced him to stay. I think it's actually prudent on us. If a player doesn't want to be here, they should go. It's why, I don't know if you guys heard me, I'm a big Mainu fan, but I said, if I see Mainu play the first game, I don't want him in this team. I still don't want him in this team. I think one of the big factors is we need players who are here, who want to be here. And I don't care how well you've played for us before, you need to be here. So if Bruno is upset, I'm grateful for what you've done for us. You're going to give us a boatload of money. The only problem is I don't trust these guys to replace him. That's the issue. That's the issue I think all of us have. Most teams, they do this all the time.
Nelson, do we maybe see, us not wanting to replace him at all because he's such a mercurial player?
You're going to have to do it eventually.
No, I understand, but do we just say, hey, with the new manager, with a new system or whatever, that we don't necessarily look to replace, like Bruno as the profile of player that he is, but we start looking to fix in other areas instead,
right?
Or maybe is the midfield a bit different? Like,
no, because I've been saying this, and I know this is going to upset a lot of people. if we're doing a squad rebuild, that means everyone goes. And yes, in the most perfect scenario, Bruno is the last guy you replace. He should be. He should be the last guy you replace. Everyone else goes. But in the situation we're in, where we have incompetent owners, incompetent directors of football and scouting directors and all this stuff, we're in this position where they will do the stupid thing. They will get rid. Guys, this is something we haven't really discussed enough. We got rid of all of our wingers when Amarim joined. We got rid of all of them. And remember, they wanted to get rid of Garnacho. They wanted to. It's just that they weren't sure about incomings. But these are the people we're with. So if we sell Bruno, my concern is, as what Andy said, their replacement is Baleba. That's what they think might be the replacement. And in my opinion, if you're replacing him, you have to replace him with multiple players. You don't replace Bruno with one guy. That's a three-man job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's a winger, an attacking midfielder, a central midfielder, heck, maybe a fullback or wing back. I don't want Dalot here. So that's how I see it. That's honestly how I see it personally.
You don't want Dalot here. Lucky Singh does not want Ugarte here. I mean, I don't know which players we actually want to keep apart from Bruno. I'll just read some of the chats a bit. The Andrew said, nah, bro, come on. Being a football fan is having the right to be negative or positive. I think that extends to not just being a fan. I think that extends to being human. You're absolutely right. You do have the right to be negative or positive, which is why, I'm happy to give you the space to be able to like vent a little bit, but like we need to be forward thinking and future moving for sure. And he also went on to say that, brother, I think I'm English and Southgate is terrible. That's what he said as well, which is kind of funny. I love that whatnot. But here's my question to you guys. Let's think of the best term scenario, right? If Carrick gets Champions League qualifications, I'm not saying whether or not that's actually realistic, but if should he get the permanent job? Or
I was actually
do we stick with the plan and just go for somebody else?
I was going to ask something similar. I was going to ask like what's the point threshold that Carrick would need to achieve where we're like, okay, you know what? Actually, why don't we just let him cook?
If he somehow gets second, then yeah, that's the only time I'd listen.
Even if he gets second, I don't want him to stay, unfortunately.
No, if he gets second,
Really?
that's insane.
Yeah, because that's just say that they don't have a longer plan. They don't stick with their plan, and they just say that, oh, okay, we're just going to wing it. And if Carrick got second, he can stay. But according to the plan, he's supposed to just finish the season, and then they gonna do a permanent. But that's what they say. I rather they stick to what they say.
I think there should be, and I hear that. And this isn't me. I hope you guys don't understand. I am pro Enrique. I want De Zerbi. I've been screaming for De Zerbi for a long time. But if Carrick really overperforms, and I mean really, because right now I think third is going to be up for grabs with Chelsea having Rosinha. I think that you're going to see Maresca is a better coach than him, in my opinion. So there will be a bedding in period with that guy. If Carrick hits the ground running and he does achieve a higher expectation than what all of us had for Amarim and or whatever you think he was supposed to. If everyone thinks he's supposed to finish 6th and he gets 5th, it's not worth keeping him. But if you think he's going to finish 6th and he gets 3rd, you have to review that thought. You have to see how he did get that. Like you really have to. Because there's this idea that just getting Luis Enrique will work. Luis Enrique also required a lot of money from PSG. Like a lot. He had to get rid of multiple players. Are we going to do the same thing? I don't know.
Rid of Mbappe.
Do we even have the same infrastructure, to be able to get rid of that level of players as are there?
Yeah.
Devo66, shout out to you, brother. You sent in a super chat saying, could Carrick be our Arteta and be a long-term man?
Maybe.
Yeah, I think if he achieves, let's say, let's be generous and say third, but we see like a huge improvement in the style of play. It's possible. I think part of managing in general is being able to pivot because there's variables inherently in life. So I think, if Carrick just overperforms, you have to consider it. I think the only time that you would maybe not consider it is if you have already, let's say, Luis Enrique lined up. He's already lined up. Okay, you go with that, right? But if not, if we're at the end of the season going to be like, okay, now who do we want to go with? And Carrick's performed up to this point, I think you have to go with him. Like, why change something that is clearly working if he's able to do that in a short amount of time?
And what Roberta is saying is my point exactly. It's performance and results. It's not just him scraping a bunch of wins and we go, oh yeah, he finished second. No. You have to see a clear identity. Like we have to see a clear structure in how he wants to play. Because I'm probably, and I know the other king, Josh, who's a big fan of Ole. Like I actually saw, in my opinion, I thought I saw Ole trying to implement something. And when Ronaldo came in, I thought that really screwed him up. Because he wanted a pure machine and he was getting there. And then the Glazers just threw him under the bus. So my concern with Carrick, more so than Luis Enrique, is two things. We have seen when Mourinho came here how important an elite manager is able to convince really good players to come to your team. We shouldn't have gotten Zlatan or Cavani or Pogba. We shouldn't have. We were a crap team. But the ability of Mourinho to just call his contacts, also because of his agent. Remember, he had one of the big agents. So if Luis Enrique is able to go, hey, I know I can get this guy in here. Now that also sways an argument. But that's why I think if Carrick is to stay here, he really has to overperform. Like an exceptional amount.
Nix, your thoughts on this?
I do agree with Nelson to a certain degree. However, I still think that it's kind of counterintuitive for me to see that if you say that he's overperforming, then how come the management don't back him up from the very start? Like after, let's say, 3 to 4 games, let's say we go out win Man City 3-0, Arsenal 3-0, then do you guys start do we start backing this manager because he have a potential? Because every manager that or coach, that we sign in the future is potential only, right? Like we don't know if they're gonna work in our team or not. Then why don't the management say that, okay, let's back this coach right now to see if he can perform better, right? So I just see it as if they already have a plan. If he win the league, sure, sign him for 10 years. But only second or anything below, or even just overperform and have a style of play, and then just play off that and say that, okay, let's sign him long term. I don't think that is a great planning. It just felt from my opinion. I think if they think that, they should have not come out and just say that, we're just gonna have Carrick until the end of the year. They should have just said that he will be our head coach, full stop, rather than just tell everyone, say that we will keep him only up until the summer. That's all, and have all the coaches going ahead.
Yeah. Vic is wise says, have we learned nothing? We've pissed away one of the most promising young attacking coaches, probably referring to Amram, and a tactician in Eric Ten Hag. Carrick is not even in the same conversation. Regardless, Ineos ain't backing him. I'd like to maybe offer a bit of a counterpoint. I think it's because he's not one of those guys and they feel like he's probably a little bit more moldable, that they might, back him. Or maybe that's the type of profile of manager that we're looking to get. Maybe, maybe are we even misprofiling who is actually the next guy? Like we would love to see De Zerbi. I'd love to see Enrique.
I just want to also clarify something. Yeah. If you look at league rankings, the championship is higher than the Portuguese league. So however you want to view this, the Championship is a really difficult league, boys. Like, they play a lot of games.
Yep.
They have a lot of different trophies. He took a relegation team, almost brought them over to the Premier League. That's
Well,
the first thing.
he brought them in playoff contention, and I think
Correct.
we know exactly how one-off games can go.
Yeah,
Or
and
he
this
stays
wasn't
in
a
the
guy who
final,
was
but
like
yeah.
fully backed. Like, he was, the best players were being sold too.
Yeah,
Like,
and I
that's
think
the thing that you go
Do
on.
you
Sorry,
think that that's got something to do with the regression, though, Nelson? Right? Because we saw, like, over time the points started dropping off. I mean, when I was like looking at it, it seemed like he'd have at least one or two big exits every single summer.
The problem was, I think in his last season, they did back him. And I think that just didn't work out. Because I'm pretty sure they're doing well right now. If I check the results, I'm pretty sure they're doing well. But the reason why I like this guy, because Middlesbrough is second right now in the Championship. So they're in playoff contention. So the only reason I like Carrick is we have a lot of crap players. And his ability to improve crap players is the reason why I like him. Luis Enrique, to Nick's point, which, by the way, Nick, I'm on your side here, which is Luis Enrique is the guy you bring in to win your league. That's a guy you bring in to win your league. But if and this is what all of us, I think, agree, we don't trust Ineos yet to build us a team that wins us a league. So you could end up bringing in Luis Enrique, and you end up killing him the same way we kill Mourinho, Louis van Gaal. Do you remember Louis van Gaal's team?
Yeah.
Do you remember that team? Smalling, Tyler Blackett, Paddy McNair. Those are our defenders. Yeah? Romero. Those are the people who
Rashford.
were starting. Yeah, young Rashford, right?
Yeah, very young.
Like 17, 18-year-old Rashford. Like, we were a really poor team, just a great manager. And my concern is if Luis Enrique comes in, and you guys know what's going to happen. Let's say he has a great season, gets us third. They're not going to back him. They won't give him the amount of money he wants because he'll be like, okay, now give me 200 to 300 million for one guy. I want 2 or 3 people, only 200, 300 mil. That's my biggest concern. But at the same time, just so we're clear, I would want Luis Enrique in first.
Yeah. Also, Nix, you were also talking about, backing Carrick. I think if we make any signings this winter or this January, I don't really think it's them backing Carrick. I think it's them trying to get back into good graces
with the fans,
with the fans, because everyone's pissed. Everyone's blaming them as much as they maybe even the Interim outers, happy is gone. They still are not happy with Glinios, right? So I think it's not about backing him, but also if we are to take them at their word that they have a sporting project and they are seeing that we do, it's very clear that we need, let's say, a center mid. Why not buy one that can fit into a system, or that's a modern center mid, for instance, that could plug and play into a system, maybe not led by Carrick, but whoever we want to bring in the future. So like that planning for the future piece. So I don't think it's necessarily about backing Carrick. It's just planning for the future. Not that we've seen that, not that I'm expecting to see that, but just wanted to add that perspective.
And if we were planning for the future, they would be going for like an Elliot Anderson. Like, that is a future signing. That's a signing that works with any manager that comes in here, like all of them. Ruben Neves is more of a signing that, let's be honest, they see Carrick, he wasn't a player who was quick. He utilizes intelligence more. Ruben Neves is the exact same.
Yep.
Literally the exact same. There's no difference. With great passing ability, slow player. That's the reason why we're now being linked with him. That's how I see it. But Nick, what do you think? But yeah, Shailene, carry on. Sorry.
No, Nick, go ahead. You can say your piece.
Like, I totally understand, but everyone point of view here. And I do agree that if they do any signing, it's not saying that they're backing Carrick, but I'll try to make a point that if to go back to the original discussion point, that if would we keep Carrick if he overperforming right? Like I'm just saying that if he does for the next 2 or 3 games within the January period, then if they make some signing, then it seemed like they are trying to back Carrick. But if they don't, then he just like I'm just flip flopping between two kind of thought here. Sorry. So yeah, like I just feel like even if he got second or third and have a good performance, he shouldn't stay. It's just because that kind of aligned with their planning. We should get some more coach. The job is very big. I don't want Ole, where we give him the job and then he doesn't perform for the next 2 years, then repeat the cycle. Meanwhile, this is a long.
Hey, Nix. Whoa.
I was waiting for that for the second there.
I just had madness there. Not to sound like Josh here, but I will sound like Josh for a second. He did perform well for us. Like, you do know, and I don't like banging against our previous manager because many people saw that I wasn't the biggest Amrim in guy. Okay. But you do know that if you look at his last, I believe it's his last 12 games, which were the last 12 games that Ole was also reviewed on. Ole had 17 points, and I'm pretty sure Amrim had 20. So even in Ole's worst season, he was only 3 points worse than Amrim. That's one. And two, Ole literally was consistently a Champions League manager. Like, he consistently got us to Champions Leagues. Now, don't get me wrong. I don't want Ole here. But Carrick has showcased that once he left us, he went and improved on himself. My point is, I think it's really harsh on someone who comes in, does a really good job, and then you go, we're not going to review this. Because that to me is actually you not having any semblance of reality.
Right.
Like, you should have an assessment on the guy who's doing a great job. But again, my great job is him finishing minimum third. That's a great job. Anything below that, no. You've been good for us. Get one of the good guys, the more known names, the De Zerbis, the Luis Enriquez. Because I even hear like people like Hansi Flick are also being touted as not having a contract at the end of the year. So this summer is going to be a great summer for coaches.
I think we're going to see
honest.
I think we're going to see a lot of managerial movement. We're going to be linked to a lot of managers. We're going to have you know what? If you're looking to, let's say, rebuild properly and you want to find a person to help you do that, this is the summer. Right, in order to be able to do something like that, just because of the sheer number of managers that will open up, especially after the World Cup. And if you've had an eye on a long-term target that we don't know if they have, but if you do, then this is the summer that you can probably go for it. It doesn't necessarily have to be a managerial candidate. It could also be somebody from I'll say like a player standpoint too. But yeah, so let's see. I'll read one in the chat. So Abdi Liebach said that, remember, we lost out on 100 million losing to Spurs in the final. I'd argue that, that's valid. But, one, we have a higher revenue than Spurs anyways. And so maybe 100 million would be probably an additional player or something like that. Maybe we do get the ability to deal through, because then we have the excess money to splash around. But I'd be more concerned that we'd have probably wasted it and spent it a little bit poorly and not necessarily been smart or been patient with the signings and the acquisitions. Because I think for the prices that Mbumo, Cunha, and Šeško came in, they're relatively fair for maybe what it is. But I know Šeško was we're buying potential, but it's not like we did pull the Rasmus Højlund, right, where we paid, I believe, 50 million over the premium of what his valuation was. I think this was closer to 30. So there is that. But yeah, it's getting a little late, right? I think we've been live for a little bit, like an hour and a half. I have one final question for you guys, and it's a short one, nothing crazy. Who do you think is going to benefit the most with Carrick? like who is going to, be that player that improves the most? Roberto or Nelson? Either of you have a shot? If not, I do have one in my mind.
I don't have a specific player off the top of my head, so if you want to go, I'm happy to listen and then kind of mull that over.
Okay. So I think Šeško is probably the player that benefits the most with Carrick, especially because when I look at what he did with the strikers in his like Akpom, kind of went from being super relevant to like somebody that's a thing. And I know that if his preference is to put crosses into the box for the striker, we've got a 6'5" striker. That's the guy that you'd want to have at the end of a cross. And I know that he has he has good heading technique as well, and he can get pretty high too. Like not because of sheer height, but he also has like a great jump to him as well. I've seen like strikers before that were tall, but I really think that he'll probably benefit the most from Carrick. Maybe not necessarily just from like a development standpoint, but just the output that we'll be able to get from Šeško as well. Nelson, do you have a player?
I think it's going to be interesting with I think Cunha, because I think we've been the issue we have is Ed and I were actually having this discussion offline, and Ed said there's a possibility Carrick might actually end up playing Bruno in the same position that Amarin played him in, which is in the two like double pivots, and then you have Cunha as the 10. And I obviously went that would be fantastic, because the issue we have with Cunha right now that everyone sees is when he plays on the wing, his propensity to cut inside and then clog the midfield, but not have the foresight of like going back to the wing so that you can stretch the play. It killed us against Brighton, like really did. We had a lot of bad players in that game, but Cunha has had probably maybe a month, 2 months ish of like really poor. And that's why I think Cunha might be the guy. But I was actually going to say Šeško, because what he did with Chuba Akpom is nuts. Like he scored 28 goals and has gone to, and that's, by the way, really impressive in the championship. So, and then the next forward that he had, but he had him before, which was, I think it's Lata. He's Ivorian, if I'm not wrong. Lata. He's Ivorian. He now plays for Atlanta, by the way, but really good player. He got him to like, I think 15 GA in the next season. So like there are a lot of players that he does improve. And that's why, and by the way, he doesn't cross a lot. In his first season, he crossed a lot. And then in the subsequent seasons, he used more midfielders. So again, this is a really adaptable guy. So that's why I want to see, we might say Šeško improves. You might see Dogu really improve.
You're saying he's got a plan B, basically, right?
100%.
Okay. So the criticism levied against him probably isn't warranted in that sense. Okay, fair. All right, Roberto, any thoughts?
Yeah, so Šeško is a good shout. I think we've already seen Šeško get a lot more chances with Fletcher. So I think just the way we're going about attacking away from Amarim's style has freed up Šeško, because I think Šeško had to do a lot of dropping deep and interlinking play. So without that responsibility, I think definitely he would improve. Nelson mentioned the other person I was going to say, which was Dorgu. I think we've already seen him. He's like improving every single game. He's showing us that he's able to improve. He's willing to improve. And I think even though Carrick's build up and maybe it might be a little slower, he still does like to attack from the wings. So I think Dorgu will be key, especially if he does play Cunha in the 10. I also think that Bruno's probably going to be playing in that double pivot and Cunha will probably be in the 10. So I think Dorgu adding width on the left he's going to be pivotal. Like we're going to see him I mean, I really hope we see him go to another level. Just because he just seems to always put his head down and work hard. Emram criticized him, and we saw him improve like literally in leaps and bounds. So I think he's someone that's really, really working on himself.
Awesome. Well, thank you, boys, for joining me again. And thank you for the viewers as well. A shout out to Devo66 and also to Toloco for the super chats, and for I think Toloco came on, and so did Nix as well. But yeah, that'll take it. As we wrap up, just a few closing announcements in a sense. One, if you're not a part of the Discord, please join. Like, that is going to be the place where you'll be able to understand, hey, like, what is the schedule, or of the next upcoming streams. I'll try to continue to communicate more for you guys there. Like the stream if you haven't, subscribe if you've enjoyed the conversation, and we're an open group. Well, I would love to have conversations with new United fans, and we do these call-in shows quite a bit. Just a note for tomorrow, though, I will be going live a bit earlier than maybe you guys might have expected. I'll try to come around at 2:30 Eastern as well, because we've got some folks in the UK that we can tap into to also join us on the panel. So heads up just ahead. I'll see you guys then. If anything changes, just keep an eye out on the Discord as well. But appreciated having you guys on. And as Raphael would say, Sawadee Krab.